Good afternoon, Dave.
Good afternoon, John. Welcome to Office Hours. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited for the day, and excited for here we go into the holidays. But I'm super stoked. It's been a man before you and I were talking about. It's been a crazy week.
Yeah, yeah, it's been magnificent, and I think it's for different people in different stages of their sales cycles are either seeing kind of a pan off and people are starting to check out, or like me right now, everybody wants to get their numbers in and probably use up a little bit of their dough to get some tax benefit.
Hmm.
And so I'm seeing a ton of that. And I think
Yeah,
a lot of folks on our call are in the middle of that because we had 22 folks register and people are starting to sign on. So hey
yeah,
everybody and welcome. Ben, Chelsea, Steve, Tom, thanks for joining.
so cool. So glad it's more and more people that we can help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I should make for a disclaimer here. As many of you know, Office Hours hosts out of the Twin Cities market. This is not what we're seeing right now. That's not really outside my door. It's beautiful, but it's a background. But I thought I'd dress for it, Dave, with my flannel shirt.
I like it. I like it. I'm rocking a sweater at least, so we're good. I
Yeah.
keep forgetting to bring my Santa Claus hat in. Otherwise,
In the holiday spirit. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. And
yeah,
as everybody who's on the call and listening, thank you for joining us. All of that, your interest in becoming or advancing your fractional practice. If you're a small business on here, what's happening. Dave and I talk about this. We're really, really concerned with what's happening at that 50% of our GDP, right? That's small business in America.
mhm,
And what a lot of people forget that is 95% of our workforce. So you matter. You matter at every level of the economy, and don't ever think just because you're not a Fortune 500 or anything like that you don't matter, because you do. You're amazingly impactful. So hopefully we can help you continue to matter and advance, your own cause in your business or your fractional business, and that's our goal. Dave, wouldn't you say?
I agree completely. It's if there's one thing that I've learned from all the interactions with the Voyager team, with everybody else that I meet with, we're all in this to hustle, and we need to do a ton, especially this time of year, to get everything going and to keep us set up and to prime us up for 2022. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping as we have a second here, because I'm getting a couple of questions. First, this is absolutely your time, so please go ahead and ask questions. You can do that via chat inside of the Zoom webinar tool, or you can use Q&A as well. One other thing, if you hover over your name, you can also, or down at the bottom of the screen, you can also just raise your hand and we will either turn you on for your audio, or we can make you a panelist and then we can see you as well. So Tom asked if they're on camera, and you can be if you'd like. We reserve the right to boot anybody that gets crazy. I don't think Tom would, but
Tom's a good dude. I've met Tom. He's not going to get crazy. Tom's not going to get crazy.
so hit us up with questions. We're going to talk through a little bit of general info, but raise your hand if you want to chat. And we will ask you after we turn on your audio if you'd like to join us on video, and then we can make you a panelist. So everybody, welcome and thank you so much. So our topic for this week: sales and marketing tips, tricks, and stories from the trenches. This
Mm-hmm.
is my passion, and I know it is yours as well. And especially, I think it'd be fun to talk through the funnel, the bow tie funnel,
Sure.
John, as well as I want to talk about the flywheel a little bit as well, and kind of what people can do and benefit and learn from just having a process around
Mm-hmm.
really driving your leads through a
Yeah.
considered process, whether you're a fractional or working for another company in B2B or B2C. You need to have a full pipeline. So let's chat.
Yeah, let's talk about that. And maybe if I might, talk a little bit. There's been a lot of learning on that, a lot of sharing, a lot of coaching this week on that for people who are currently going or have been doing fractional. So I've got a lot to share on that. But let's talk about the funnel for a minute. And I think one of the things that Dave just said is, you do have to have a pipeline, and you do have to have some basic disciplines on the general gateways in a pipeline. And if you're in Voyager, you've seen this already in our how to sell yourself as a fractional executive, which really applies to the same thing as how do you sell, when you're in a small business. Less is more, simple is better. The thing about processes, I'm going to make 2 points here. One is you have to have one, but if you're small, you can really wear yourself out and over process, too many things to do. So it really is wise to think smaller bites over a consistent period of time, as opposed to great big giant dump into the market and then go dark for months after that. So a simple process that gets you at all the gateways you need to. People need to know you exist. That's awareness. If you are on this call today and you ask a question, just by virtue of that actually counts as awareness in the fractional world, because more than a few people see your name and hear your voice. Interest level, people have to have a way to say, hey, there's something about you that I'd like to talk to you more about that. Dave gets that a lot because he's got such a wonderful looking beard. I have to talk to you about that beard. How do I do that? But there's all sorts of other reasons people want to reach in and talk to you. And then finally, some level of engagement. And that's really pipeline basics 101. But it's interesting, Dave, because a lot of people who do this say, geez, I could never do sales. Well, can you do a process? Because sales is a process. It's not a personality. So them's my thoughts for people who might be a little worried about how do you build a pipeline and maintain a pipeline. It's simple. Keep it simple. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah. Well, I agree. It needs to stay simple, and you need to really focus on what you offer to your customer that they gain in value. So it's not about me in a sales conversation, it's about them. And so especially as I look at it, and this is a little bit business 101, but one of the fun things that a lot of people will ask at the start of a sales seminar, they'll say, are you in sales? And if you're a CXO that doesn't have M or R in the middle of it, you might be tempted to say no. I'm the COO for a company, or I'm the CTO, or I'm the CFO. I'm responsible for numbers. I'm not in sales. All of us are selling, whether we like it or not. We're either selling for our company or for our personal engagements, or we're selling against it. Are you being helpful? Are you being useful to the people that you serve? And so if you're concerned about it, or if sales feels like a dirty word to you, all you're really trying to do in sales is identify needs and help match those needs with either what you do or with what someone else can do. And I sell half the time when I have a conversation, it doesn't revolve around me delivering anything to them at all. It's okay, well, I need you to talk to John, or I need you to talk to Josh, or I need you to talk to Mary, because Mary's tools will help get you where they need to go. Or maybe it's not a good fit for me because I focus on B2B companies of 5 to 100 million. And if you're a brand new startup, you don't always have the kind of investment capability to be able to just hand it over to somebody. You need to do a lot of it yourself. Sure. I'll hand off to a partner all day long because it's a better fit. And so if you always look at it as how can I help as many people as possible, and how can I either give them information or some sort of a service or delivery that's going to solve their problem, going to fix their pain point, even just to move the needle forward a little bit, is all you need to do in sales.
Why are people, Dave, afraid of sales?
We get a bad rap, sales folks and people that do it the wrong way and or are trying to play numbers games by spamming as many people as possible, or hiring a cold marketing or a direct dial company, or all of the your car warranty is about to expire people, right? They wouldn't do that if it worked.
Those guys, honest to God, the phone texting and the calling and we're trying to put up gateways for that. It's oh, you're getting a well, now the phones are telling us you're getting an unidentified caller, or it's even a spam call. So we have all these gateways. And when you think about, we get a bad rap because a lot of stuff that comes our way, it kind of has 2 points where it really poops in the pool. And one is, if that is how you envision sales, like if you've never done it before, but you're starting to build a small business or build your fractional practice, and you kind of look at it through that lens, you can get why people are like, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to be that irritating person, because that's mostly what I know about sales, for sure. And then the other part, I think, is the preconceived notion that sales is about personality. I don't have a big personality, therefore I won't sell. So yeah, I'd agree. Like most of it is just, you got to forget what you think about it, because what your perception of it is typically wrong when you're talking about sales that actually works.
Right.
How many times have you picked up a call that said spam caller? You went and said, God, I'm going to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to answer that. I can't wait to talk to that person. There's a funny commercial right now where it's a corporate boardroom and somebody bursts through the room and says, stop everything. Stop it all. We've got like a sales vendor just called us for the 15th time today with the most important deal of the day. Let's stop the whole thing. And I don't know who it's for. I probably should research that. But bad perceptions of what sales are have to be forgotten, have to be sloughed away, because when you do it and do it right, there's no distaste. It's actually a wonderful thing to do. You don't get used to the distasteful stuff. You get used to doing things in the right way.
Right. And we actually had a really good question, John, that you should take. Charlie asks, can you catch me up to speed? What are you referring to when you say fractional?
Sure thing, Charlie. That is a great question. We have to field that every single day. So fractional in a nutshell is right here. So when you are a fractional professional, you are ultimately going to plug into a company, and that company has a need. Like Dave's saying, they have a problem, and their problem is, I don't have a Charlie in this case. Now, what Charlie is, Charlie, you might be an ops person, you might be a salesperson, you might be an IT person, whatever your skill set is. They need a Charlie because either they've been trying to do that stuff themselves, or they've been using people that don't have the right skill set or wisdom to do that. So what fractional means is you're going to play that gear for that company forward on its path to growth. So that what it means. The only difference is you're not doing it in a full-time capacity. You're doing it in a fractional capacity. Here's where a difference with freelance and consulting. Those are generally project-based. So I'll give you an example. A great big giant company needs a research project. So they hire a research consultant. A great big company wants some IT work done. They get an IT consultant. That project has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, it might be weeks, it might be months, sometimes it's even years, but it's defined, it's got space. Fractional doesn't. As long as a company wants to move from where they are and grow, the fractional piece it's in perpetuity. Can you imagine? I'm going to build my company. I'm going to bring a fractional, chief operating officer, but somewhere along the way, we're not going to need that operating gear. It doesn't happen. You have to have it. They're the critical components of the machinery. So that's what fractional is, and that's where it differs from freelancing, consulting, gigs, that sort of thing. It's a good question and really an important differentiator. So hopefully that answers your question, Charlie.
I hope so. I think so. And I think what we probably missed doing right at the beginning, John, is we forgot to say a little bit about who we are and what we do.
Oh my God.
Let's do this. Let's do this reverse and see how well we do. John Arms is the chief officer, along with Jason Voyevich, of Voyager University. And it's a training and kind of booster for fractional executives, and fractional executives being exactly what John mentioned. You can be a part-time CMO, CFO for a company, and you can have 3 or 4 of those customers, right? So that's what John's organization does. They have more than 200 members of Voyager University. And this is one of those things that we're kind of doing alongside of that, is the office hours.
Yeah. And a big part of what Voyager University is community. And speaking of that, Dave Meyer, who is here, he's part of the Voyager community. And Dave comes to the world as a very seasoned marketing and sales person, specifically as it comes to inbound marketing, or what you might call the digital footprint. But Dave's got, as you can tell, he's got some gray hair and some long experience in that space, and he's built a practice around getting that really well done, really well and right for clients. So that's where Dave comes into the world from. And, you know, when we started the community, Dave joined very early because he thought these are good energies. And now here we are.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, John.
Mm-hmm.
And well done. See, I knew we knew each other well enough. So that's a little bit about who we are and what we do. So, John, you talked a little bit about your funnel, the bow tie, how that might work. I'm actually going to stream over to my side monitor here and see if this will work.
Oh, look at that.
A little bit about what the flywheel is.
Yeah.
So if you can see that, it's probably a little bit small, and I apologize if that's the case. You can pin me to the screen for a moment if you want. But the idea of a flywheel is to routinely re-engage your audience. Ooh, I can even do that right over the top of my screen now. I like having this.
It's right there. Look at that.
Now I have myself. Where you're attracting, you're engaging, and then you're delighting your customers and your prospects at every step of the way. So it's the idea that things are never done. And it works really well with funnels in that funnel generally will feed the attract stage. And then what you're trying to do is feed more stuff into the top of the funnel, into the top of the funnel, into the flywheel, so that that flywheel will spin faster and faster. And so the other things that you have to do with flywheels are give you more mass and acceleration inside of your system. It tends to be a self-perpetuating cycle. If you attract a lot of customers, you engage those customers, and then you delight them once you convert them to customers, they're more likely to refer you into your next deal. And then that's a self-perpetuating cycle, a virtuous circle, and it keeps going and going and going until you have something like Amazon, which is one of the biggest examples of a flywheel. They used all of the benefit of the mass of everything that they do, and it helped them to lower their supply prices, to get more scale, to do all of the deliveries, and to connect with massive amounts of small businesses across the entire world. And it just makes it easier to shop and buy. And I don't know about you, John. I don't necessarily want to get a questionable shaped rocket ship and go out into space anytime soon. But I do know that I want to help my customers grow. And so flywheels work really, really well for what we're trying to do.
So let me push you on that a little bit. For the flywheel you're looking at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 different components to it, if I count it correctly. There's 9 different pieces. So, and I know as a fractional professional myself, even that needs some breaking down. Because my goal as a fractional, for those of you who are fractional, is I want 4 customers. I want 4 customers. And so, you know, part of our job is to make that, okay, it looks like there's 9 different things you have to know and do. And it looks like a lot of activity that you have to do. Dave, can you break that flywheel down to specific snack size things people can do? Because, you know, 9 things to think about is a lot.
It is. And I think the different things as you go in, really the part to pay attention to is this attract, engage, and delight section. These are kind of all how this is a HubSpot graphic. And so this shows HubSpot has 3 different kinds of software: marketing, sales, and service, all centered around a CRM in the middle. So, and that takes strangers, prospects, customers, and promoters around that circle. So what I really want to talk about is the biggest, fattest part of that, which is the attract, engage, and delight. The activities that we need to do in marketing and sales. And Tom says we're not seeing the flywheel, and I'm not screen sharing anything. I'm just literally over my shoulder. I have a graphic, Tom. So I can actually do a screen share for a moment. So let me pull this up. Actually, let me do this again quick. I'm going to open up a new window, and then I'm going to share this, just that graphic. So let me do that quick for Tom. And boom. And I think this guy. All right, here we go. Hold on to your hats. Hopefully this is working. Can we see it now?
Look at it. There it is.
Beautiful, beautiful. So as we look at this, I'm trying to attract, engage, and delight my customer base, my prospects. Inside of attract, I'm doing the traditional marketing things like connecting with people, doing emails, doing engagement activities like search engine optimization, or helping you rank better by publishing helpful content on your website. Maybe even cold calling or finding lists of people and developing content for them. And that's all part of that attract. And then once we get into the next phase, into engage, we're trying to actually help the people that we've attracted to start to solve some problems. So what I mean by that is that's in a sales conversation, that's you actually asking helpful questions and providing answers that don't just sell your product or service, but that actually help tease out what their true issues are and how you can help them solve, or really just how they can solve that problem, whether or not you're part of the solution or not. So that's engage at the sales level. At the marketing level, this is what we call inbound marketing. So inbound is the act of creating high value assets, whether it's events like what we're doing today, John, some other things like,
I'm a high value ass. I'm not a high value asset. I'm more of an ass.
Exactly. And so as you look at either quizzes or events or videos that you deliver, generally these assets are things that you're going to trade a little bit of information for, by which I usually mean your email. And after you see this quiz, for example, and actually let me open up a new tab and just go to BusyWeb's homepage. What we have right here is our free marketing quiz, right? So if I go to take the quiz, that's an inbound asset. And what am I asking for? I'm asking them to fill out that quiz form. And it has a little bitty video that talks about it, enter in this information. And then based on what they answer with these, I'm going to give them something to hit. So if they answered yes on all of these except for email marketing, we're going to send them a helpful resource on how to use email marketing or how to demystify email marketing as a solution that you can use to grow your business, right? So it almost turns into a choose your own adventure. Remember those old books like the Encyclopedia Britannica, where, Encyclopedia walks down the end of the hallway, and should he go to the left or should he go to the right? He goes to the left, he falls down the stairs and he dies. He goes to the right, he meets, the next person in his sleuthing journey, right? So all about that. So that's an example of an inbound asset. So as we go through that, then after we engage and get people to start doing things, to engage with us, to take some next step, then we're going to try to convert them into customers by doing our traditional sales process. And then after they become customers, we're going to work on delighting them at every step of the way. Sales are never done after people sign on the dotted line. You should be helping folks. You should be going back regardless of what you do. I actually, I bought a car a year ago, and the dealer just called me up and said, hey, hope everything's going well with the car. I noticed that there's like one thing outstanding on a recall that you should be thinking about. And we have these other ways that we can get you set up. And we sure miss seeing that car in the showroom. So I hope it's doing well. Easy way to just say hello. Realtors are famous for this, and they're almost as famous for doing it wrong as they are for doing it well, where they'll just send out a note and they'll say, hey, you know what? Need to buy a house like 6 months after you just bought a house, right? And sending out listings. Well, that's junk. Guy that's brilliant at this is a friend of ours. John and I both have family properties in the Brainerd Lakes area. And there's a guy who I actually bought my place from. He sends quarterly emails with just what's happening in the community this month. He's in depth. He lives there. And so, coming up, there's great, like what was the last email? He talked about all of the New Year's Eve parties that were happening around and which bars have the best
chicken wings
options and chicken wings and all that stuff, right? Talking about St. Patrick's Day coming up when we come up and there's a big parade in Cross Lake. So that kind of stuff, that's additional value. Is he going to sell another house to that person? No. What it does is it makes sure that everyone associates him with being the guy to know in the Brainerd Lakes area. And by the way, I know like 6 people that are probably going to be looking for property in the next year who am I going to recommend for that area?
Mhm.
The guy that's been feeding me info.
The ambassador.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
go ahead.
one sec, John. I want to let everybody that wants to talk say something and connect and ask us questions, because this is as much about us as you. And so if you raise your hand, we will add you to the audio of the call. And if you tell us that you'd like us to, we can also add your video. But I'm not going to just turn people's audio on, because you might not have your stuff muted, and I don't want to wind up eavesdropping on someone. But I know Alex is here. Alex is never shy. Carol, Charlie, Steve is with us. Tom, of course, has already asked us a couple of chats. So if you guys want to talk, just go ahead and raise your hand.
And we'll call on you. It's like calling on the
Yes.
class, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Or engage in something deeper.
Yeah, or chat, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm gonna kind of stay with that flywheel through a minute, but I'm gonna look through the lens of a fractional pro, and I'm gonna look through the lens of a small business. Let's say a $20 million business. One thing about I think all of marketing and all of sales is it just looks hard from the outside. There's a lot to do. I have to do attraction things, and then I have to do engagement things, and then I got to do delighting things. And really all I want to do is sell my product or serve a client. And boy, it sounds like a lot. So what I want to help people with is this: the intent of the flywheel isn't to say sooner or later you're going to get sophisticated about marketing, you're going to hire somebody to do it and kind of make it a more present thing in your day. That's not really the intent, even though it looks that way, because it looks like a list you can check off and do. Here's where the difference is, and a couple of differences, and I want to talk about one Dave just brought up. Dave's got a person that he knows that I think you said quarterly. Quarterly does a thing, and it's kind of a special thing. So the key there is cadence. Cadence, one of the big discussion points in marketing in the small business universe, of which we're all part of, is this idea, it's come out a million times, randomness, just trying stuff and seeing if it sticks to the wall. And those are without cadence. You might try something. If it doesn't work the first time, you're going to try it again, and then you're going to give up and move on to the next thing. And so cadence and continuity are really, really important. So cadence, for example, quarterly. Your person who sounds like a great ambassador for the place that they're in, doing the business that they do, that cadence. The other part of that is, I haven't met this person, by the way, who's the real estate person, but the other part about that is the where they're coming from. And for those of you I talked to this week and last week, and I do it every week, as I coach on the superpower, what is that one thing that really defines you? So that's the other part, is along with that continuity, and measuring how that goes, is what is that thing that makes you special? So here's how, if I were to refer it, I wouldn't say you have to talk to Dave's guy who does real estate in Brainerd. I would say you got to talk to that ambassador who just happens to be a real estate guy. I interpret his superpower or her superpower to be, they're just a total ambassador. That's what they're awesome at. And so really think about and work hard on what the superpower is. Now that counts for a small business. That's a real estate agency, and that counts for individuals as well. So, so continuity is important, but coming from a special, unique place is just as important. Put those two together, and if you want to make it snack size, just do one. Just do the emails. Do emails once a week, once a quarter. Over time, you'll add things in. Don't feel like you have to do it all at once. We've got a hand raising.
Yeah, and Alex is here. Hey, Alex, you can talk. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. You want us to be able to see you too?
Yeah, you can see me if you want to. It's fine.
Okay, I'm going to promote you up to panelist.
I'm in Friday mode, but
right on.
Look at this, Alex. I'm pretty much in Saturday mode, as a matter of fact. I got the comfy flannel on.
Yeah, you kind of are, John. That's cool.
Yeah. Alex, I'm glad you're in here.
Welcome.
And I'm gonna have to. I apologize. Now I'm gonna have to run in a minute because I got a client call. Of course. But no, it was interesting what you guys were talking about a second ago, because what I'm finding is a lot of times CEOs I talk to don't think marketing is too complicated. They just don't know what they don't know, and they think that it's all just lead gen or growth marketing, and that's all they understand. But it's exactly what you said too, John. I mean, the problem is a lot of times they're so focused on the bottom of the funnel, or tactics. So they want to do these random things, like the conversation will start with, I need a social media strategy. Well, you may, but the problem is you've never segmented the market, right? You don't really understand why your customers love you. There's a bunch of heavy lifting we got to do up front so that all your tactics become infinitely more effective. But if we don't do this, you're going to get the same results you're getting, which is you're throwing crap against the wall and then you complain and marketing never works.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why you have to bring in Alex. You know, for those of you who haven't met Alex, Alex is a fractional CMO or an Alex. It can be a Jessica, it can be Mary, but
absolutely.
You have to bring in those, and Alex, you don't have nearly the amount of grays that I do, but you have to bring in those seasoned pros who know that. It's interesting, Alex, you know, how much of the market that comes at those CEOs saying, I got a great deal for you. I got a smoking deal on some ad space. Jump in. Hey, I got a shiny little object here. I got some SEO. You can get on a deal. The never-ending pressure of that sort of brings those CEOs to make those decisions. So I really don't fault CEOs for that. Until, you know, it's kind of up to us to guide them in a better direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly when it comes to B2B, because I mean, a lot of times, actually, I just put an article on this. If you're looking for something to do this weekend and you want to read it, you know, there's kind of three buckets I see, right? They've never had marketing as a discipline. So this is all new to them, or they're incredibly sophisticated and they already get it. And they're just looking for someone to jumpstart where they are and kind of take them to the next level. Or you got the ones in the middle, and they're kind of sometimes the most dangerous because they think they're doing marketing and they're probably doing a piece of product marketing, but there's so much more they need to do as well. And convincing sometimes, particularly if there is a VP of marketing in place, that what they're doing isn't wrong. It's just only one piece of the puzzle. I mean, they're either receptive to that or not. And the key there is if they're not receptive to it, don't push water uphill. You're probably not going to convince them. Find a different client.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's hard for people to do. Alex, have you found, because we live in an age of information and technology, that our ability to look at metrics on those things being sharper than ever, have you found that to be helpful in helping people see? What did you say? It's not that they think it's simple, they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question, John, because it's sometimes if it's more of the how to build the brand, you can't point to the ROI as effectively. You kind of need to introduce some different metrics than they're used to, because probably if they're focused just on sales, all they're looking at is sales, right? They're not looking at customer stat. They're not looking at the benefits of some of the more, you know, as you move up the funnel or, you know, up around to the counterclockwise up the flywheel, the benefits of measuring some of that stuff as well effectively.
Awesome. Yeah. It really depends on what you're measuring. I think the key, again, to keep things simple is just getting the practice of measuring. Again, just a few things. You know, there's random and there's not random. There's measured and there's unmeasured. And take the little bites and measure a little, because it'll build on itself as long as you take the right disciplines. And I think that's where we are right now, is people have to come at things completely different than they ever have. If they weren't measuring before, you got to start.
No, absolutely. You're right, John, because it's so easy to get into analysis paralysis, because
oh my God,
particularly in digital, there's so many things you can measure. That doesn't mean you should measure them all, right? I mean, I think one of the things that UFM and then Voyager, you did really well is, look, there's really only 7 things you need to keep track of. Keep track of those really well and jettison the rest. The rest is the distraction.
Oh my God. Distractions. That's a whole other show, isn't it?
Yes.
Our world has so many rabbit holes we can run down.
Shiny objects.
So gentlemen, apologies. I have a CEO waiting for me and I can't leave her waiting too long.
Don't do that. Hey, thanks for timing in, Alex. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Yep. So that was Alex Hultgren. He's been a member of Voyager for a long time. For those of you who haven't met Alex, please find him on LinkedIn. He's a fractional CMO, and he's been doing it for quite a while now, but always posts good things to read and has good intelligence in our space. So we got to reach out and talk to and engage with. So
magnificent.
Yeah.
So this is awesome, and I want to keep us going on this train. Anyone else wants to chat, ask questions, please feel free. We have about 24 minutes left in our chat here today, and this is your time. This is kind of our end of the year party as well. So I should have got the eggnog out and the Christmas carols, but we'll see if we can get some more folks to chat in.
Yeah, please do, and maybe I can sort of push people in a direction a little bit to help it. Is I would love to hear, I really would love to hear from our listeners and people social mediaing in is, what are your like fears? What's the thing that's holding you back? And maybe if we could ask, like, raise your hand, like, what are you most doubtful about sales and marketing? What are you most afraid of about sales and marketing? What are you super pessimistic and cynical about
Right.
sales and marketing? We don't want to, we want to hopefully shed some light on those things and maybe have you look at them in a different way, but mostly remove, if they're obstacles, get them out of the way for you. So please, if you've got some thoughts around that, your biggest fears, hopefully we can address them.
Sure.
So
Love that. So if there's something that, what annoys you most about sales might be
oh my
a
gosh.
topic to chat through. And you can just drop that in the chat pane.
Yeah.
You can raise your hand and chat with us over voice. Being spammy. Yes, Carol, agree completely. That's honestly the number one thing that I get when I'm having conversations with prospective clients or even people that I've worked with for a long time. They're like, Dave, I don't care what you do, but I don't want to be one of those companies that sends spam all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act because for us as human beings, we have a hard time, especially in Minnesota, like John and I are in Minnesota. Not everyone on this chat is, but there's Minnesota nice. And so you hate to be too aggressive or to share too much or to share too often. And the answer that I always give to folks is we have a negative reinforcement bias on spam. Anything that we see that doesn't directly relate to what we are looking for is spam. Anything that does answer a question or piques our curiosity or piques our interest comes from the same person, has the same intent, but it's useful to me, so that's not spam. So your goal then is to know your customer as well as possible and answer their questions and solve their problems. And Carol also says being too salesy is a big turnoff, and we agree completely. As a matter of fact, Carol, if you will sign on for 19 sessions at $19.95 a piece, we will get much more about how to not be too salesy, right? I totally get it. And the problem is it isn't even salesy. It's when people aren't listening and they're just trying to push some crap that we don't want on us. Yeah. A good sales conversation is about solving a problem and helping people to find what they're looking for and not trying to sell. Nobody likes to be sold online, but everybody loves to buy. Yeah. But they have to feel like they're the ones that are initiating the conversation or that are the ones that are showing interest.
Yeah, and you're getting into some psychology. And Carol, you bring that up, and everybody says that. And I always recommend if you have a small business or if you're a fractional looking to be, write 2 things on a sticky note and stick it in your office and never let it get out of your sight. And one is, never spam and never sell for you, for example. Mm-hmm. If you're doing those 2 things, if you're being salesy or if you're spamming, ask yourself, and you stop. And so then the question is, yeah, right, I don't want to be spammy and I don't want to be salesy. Then don't, and nobody should. Mm-hmm. What do you do though? Right? That is the question, is what do you do? There's 2 things that in the absence of being spammy and salesy, which no one wants to do anyway, that you can do out of being just you, and there's no magic, and it doesn't take an MBA or a bachelor's degree in marketing or anything else. And one is help. Is help. When you take the mentality of, I don't know you, I haven't met you, but I am here to help you. When your brain starts going down the path of helping somebody else, what hurts? What's bothering you? What do you need? It changes the energy in the right direction, and you become that person who you want to be. A helper. What we always say about Voyager University is it's a place to help and be helped in that order. Mm-hmm. Help and be helped. The more you go in and help somebody, the more help comes back your way. And it happens to be a key component to success. And it's something that everybody can do. It doesn't take special training. It just comes down to what kind of person you are. And being that very helpful person, and it comes back around your way. And salesy too. Ick. That I was in a sales meeting with a customer this week, and they had said something interesting. Some of the sales force were saying, boy, you start asking too many questions about what your problems are. they're on the other side, they're saying, what are you trying to sell me? They even know that if you start asking about their problems, they feel like they're going to be sold. So all the way through, it's not a way to sort of get through the front door. I'm helpful, but now I really want to jam something down your throat and sell you something. Your whole approach to the market is help and listen all the way through. That's the difference between success and failure in any business.
Yeah, I agree completely, especially in B2B, right? And then when you're talking B2B services, or if you're a CXO for hire on the fractional side, or, you know, if you're a business owner and trying to connect and find more clients, you're really just about solving problems. And if we get too greedy and we try to get right to the end and cut through all of the trust building and all of the things that you need to do to build a relationship, it's a lot like a cocktail party, right? Having a sales conversation is a lot like a successful cocktail party. Do you gravitate to the people that just blather on and on and on about themselves? And, oh yeah, Muffy and I went to the Maldives last month and it was glorious. You don't like that, right? None of us like that. But the person that engages you and asks you all kinds of interesting questions and says, oh, well, tell me more. You know, you went to the Maldives last month. Tell me more. That sounds amazing. What did you do? What did you see? Who did you connect? You can say 15 words and have someone walk away from a conversation saying, man, that John is brilliant. He's such a great conversationalist. You didn't say anything. You just kept engaging him to ask them more questions, right? That's what a good sales conversation is. It's finding the right questions to elicit the information that they're looking for, maybe if they don't even know it yet. You know, Alex tied right in on that when we were talking to him. He's like, here's the things that most CEOs don't even know, right? And that got us perking our ears up and asking more questions. And that's a great sales tactic, is to find something that resonates with your audience and then share a little bit more with them, but always, always, always lean in with asking questions and getting more information. And that makes it fun. I don't have sales calls. I go out and I introduce people to the opportunity to make more money with their business by asking them questions and saying, well, you might want to consider doing these things as well. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to help.
Yeah, we've got some people in our community and a nice little relationship with a company called Sales Acceleration. And Tom Holderly, who was on the call earlier, they have this down pretty good. If you've ever met Tom or get a chance to meet Tom, or if Tom, you want to come on, he's one of the most genuine guys ever. You know, he's going to tell you straight. He's going to be absolutely 100% authentic, and he's going to be strategic as hell. And it's really interesting. And so when you hear the word sales, we kind of have to rethink what that means, because it doesn't mean what we think it does, and it doesn't mean what it has for a while. One thing I've liked about Sales Acceleration, and those in it is Tom and Mark and a bunch of other guys, is they're just so authentic, and it's sort of like, are you here to sell or help? And I can tell you, they're there to help. They've got it right. So talk to people in SalesX, talk to Tom, because they've got it figured out from a very human approach and a very strategic approach to sales. So
awesome. I just reminded everybody to chime on in. Yeah, it doesn't have to be about sales conversations too. If you have something else that you're looking for, just want to bounce off of, this is intended to be time and space for anyone to ask anything. And John and I have between us probably more years than we'd like to admit, but I would guess maybe over 50.
Let's just go ahead and say that and walk away from that number as quick as we can. We've been around a little bit, and let's share that a little bit too. Is what the market values a lot right now is wisdom, and it's sort of the reason fractional is growing, and quite honestly, I think the reason small businesses are growing and starting to do well again is there's a lot of wisdom there. If you're a person who's been in business for a while, you've failed, you've learned a lot, you've made some mistakes, and there's value every year you're in. It's like every year you're in is another master's degree. And that's the sort of things that you want to lean into when you're trying to let people know that you can help them, is listen, I'm not going to grind away at low value tactics and efforts. I'm a thinker here. Think about that. Cause again, the part of the reason we're here is the world is changing. And it's changing. It has changed, and it's changing fast, and it's not going back to the way it was. And maybe it's good, right? Maybe some of those old thoughts about sales and marketing and how to go get customers, maybe they'll finally just go away and die and open up a new world. Like, here's really how it's supposed to go. Authentic, helpful, some processes, measure some things. But it's funny when you ask people what they think about it, they say what Carol says. What do you think about sales? You think about spam, you think about salesy, you think about these things. And then when you look at it now, it's not about any of those things. I shouldn't say that. That's not true, because people still are spamming and people are still being salesy. But effective sales really hinges on a much more authentic thing.
And certainly the fun conversations, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel any pressure to sell. I feel lots of
Right.
pressure to try to help as many people as I can.
Yeah.
I think that's how I've been successful. It's just, I don't want to sell you anything.
Yeah.
I'll start that by saying, this isn't a sales conversation. If I can help you, great. You're going to ask me to help you. I'm not going to tell you that you need to do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
Tom says he's happy to help anyone on this call with sales issues. Tom, if you wouldn't mind coming off, if you don't mind, if you can't, that's okay. We understand, but come into video, because we got a lot of listeners who don't know who you are and what your skill set is, and maybe if they could hear from you for a minute or two, we could. If not, I totally get it.
Yeah, for Tom, I'm gonna hit allow to talk. And so if we hear you, or if it's clear that you're on in your car or something, we'll mute it back out again. But you can speak now if you'd like, sir.
Sure. And I'm happy to go to video if you'd like.
Oh, perfect. Okay, let me do that for you.
You never know. Friday afternoon, people could be in their sauna. Who knows? So it's nice to ask first. So Tom, thanks for calling in and jumping in. And I know you've got you're a guru and a very wise, kind person when it comes to sales. So thanks for saying you're happy to help.
Sure. Hang on. It's okay. There we go. I lost you for a minute as Zoom reconnected me. So there's some dead air there, but go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't catch all your question there, John.
Yeah. So sales, right? You've had some experience in there. People have a negative view of what sales is by and large. And I'd love to sort of hear from a professional, like, why do you think that is, and how might we address that?
Well, actually, for someone who's been in a variety of sales roles for over 30 years, I shared that view. When I first started in sales, I test out as more of an introvert. I thought to be successful in sales, you had to be the person that works the room, at parties and, conventions and things like that. And that's definitely not me. But what I found over the years is that while having an outgoing personality is definitely a benefit, that's not the only key to success. And being genuine, being able to connect with people, being able to understand their issues, and being a resource and finding solutions for them is what definitely is going to make you successful. You don't have to be the life of the party. You don't have to work the room, but just being able to be more consultative is, and I found that to be more successful.
It makes a lot of sense. How maybe earlier in your career, these things that Carol mentioned, and I know everybody believes, the too salesy, too spammy. How did you overcome that? Because that's something, the minute you're talking to somebody, you have to overcome those preconceived notions.
Yeah, I guess it's all in the approach. Once again, that being genuine. Don't, as far as in your marketing, don't do a blast. Have something that maybe connects more individually with people. And sometimes it may take multiple contacts in order for people to figure out that you are genuine, you are here to help, and you're not here just to promote the latest and greatest, product or service that may be out there. So it takes time, to build that rapport, build that relationship. But the best way to do that is to bring something of value. So instead of spamming someone, maybe you start with, well, here's an article on such and such that you might find interesting, something that is in their arena, something that maybe based on previous information, they're interested in, bring something of value, or hey, I see that your company won, XYZ award, in Twin Cities Business Journal. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Don't transition that into a sales call. Just congratulate them, make the contact, move on.
Tom, you said something really, really important there. Do the thing and stop. It's like, hey, congratulations. Now attached is a sales sheet in an order that you can fill out, right?
Right.
Just do the thing and stop. Just be and just be nice that day.
Mm-hmm.
Just be nice that day. Isn't it funny that these basic human tendencies are somehow at the back of the bus when it comes to sales and not at the front?
Right.
Yeah. Dave, you talk a lot about, we got Tom who comes, who's a great part of the sales machinery and organizations. Dave, inbound marketing. And both of you share something interesting, and that is give them some value. And Dave, I know you're obsessive about that. Is sometimes you even guess, like, I think this little video is helpful. How do you get to that point of, Dave, of kind of thinking, oh, I think this is helpful. This is good content for them. This will help them.
The biggest breakthrough that I had this year, I think, is I really took a step back and I focused on what do my best customers really need and want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I focused on how can I be the source of that information for them,
mm-hmm.
which is why we came up with, like the marketing grade quiz. They just need to snapshot. Am I doing this right or am I screwing it up? And
mm-hmm.
if I'm doing it great, cool, I'm good. But I sense something's up. Now, most times when people are looking for something, if it's the wrong person in the right organization, sometimes they're asking for something a little bit too specific. Like they want help in an ad campaign, or they want help with SEO. And that's great. And we developed a ton of content around SEO for a long time at BusyWeb. But what we were doing is we were attracting a lot of the people that needed help with SEO, but they didn't really have the rest of the either hiring or purchasing power, or that tall enough vantage point to actually make some real decisions. So they could make a decision about whether they wanted to do more SEO, but that certainly didn't involve BusyWeb helping them. So we needed to change our focus and change what we were talking about. And that's why we've gone up into that kind of overall marketing and inbound and focusing on exactly the right decision makers. So the C-suite is who's making the decisions for what we do. So if I know exactly who that person is, I know exactly what their problem is. And we started with our best customers and said, hey, Mike, what did we do to really solve that problem? And what made you want to say yes to us when it was time? And they tell you. Of course they want to tell you. They're like, dude, you fixed this thing for me, and it was absolutely spectacular. And I couldn't believe I don't know how I lived without it. Great. Now I'm going to say more about that. And it's a balance between, you want to try to be helpful, but at some point you do need to ask for a sale, and you do need to there is a point to your conversation that you're having with this person after all. But if you do it in a progressive and a transparent manner to say, you know what, I'm an inbound marketing agency. I can help you grow. We can do these things and I can do them for you. But let me ask a bunch of questions first, and then we'll see if it's a fit. And if it's not a fit, I can either give you somebody that would be a fit, or we can part ways and we'll just call it time well spent in exercising some options, right? And that's a way easier conversation to have, right? So that's what I do. And I have cheesy things that I do to make cold outreach. I've got my new screen here that I was just bragging to John about, but like I've got this thing where I've got either customers, or when I'm doing a video, I have call this guy, and I'm just like, hey, it's Dave, and I've got 3 things that I think you should know. And or if I'm talking specifically to somebody, like, hey, Josh, make sure to call me. That way that they know if I have a little video in my email, but I'm actually talking to them, and that this isn't just a canned crappy email, right?
Yeah.
So the little things that make you stand out a little bit better with the people that matter most, and then just delivering value.
Yeah. Deliver value, step and repeat, keep doing that.
Mhm.
As we sort of come here to the top of the hour, Tom, maybe you can chime in on this, but we're entering an era, or have entered an area where fractional is a thing for small businesses, and it's working, and they're doing it. Tom, as a fractional executive yourself on the sales side, what do you, I often tell people, like, well, how that works is they do not have the gear. They don't have the sales gear. They just don't have the sales gear, and therefore the engine is running very, very choppy. What have you seen this year, Tom, as a fractional, in terms of as acting at that as that gear in a fractional way? Any observations from the field there?
Well, the past year has been very difficult for traditional salespeople, just because of the whole COVID thing, and not being able to meet with customers or contacts face to face. It's really changed the way that many organizations have had to reach out to their customers. I know some larger corporations, even to this day, still have a no travel policy. So it's really forced salespeople to figure out, how do I stay relevant? How do I stay in contact with my customers, but yet I can't be there face to face? So that's where folks like Dave and people that are better with the digital side have really become valuable this year, as far as getting that messaging out, keeping it relevant, keeping it fresh, and making it attractive. Along with that, during COVID, we've seen a major resurgence in direct mail, because people are getting a lot of spam. They're getting a lot of electronic media. And the joke was, 20 years ago, we were thrilled when we got an email. We threw our junk mail in the trash. We were happy when we got an email. Now it's the opposite. We delete all our emails, and when we get something in print, we're happy to get something in the mail, that's tangible. So I've seen a major uptick in direct mail as an outreach.
How is it going in terms of like being that gear at not just outreaching, but like, how are CEOs and smaller sized businesses accepting kind of the new model is, Tom, you're fractional, I don't need you full time? How is that going?
It's going well. It's still evolving. As you've been doing this longer than I have, it seems like it was 10, 15 years ago, we started seeing that the fractional CEOs, CFOs, then marketing was kind of next, the CMOs and et cetera. So fractional sales is probably one of the newer comers to the fractional game. And so people are still, you might say, still warming up to it. But I think it's going to become the new normal, regardless of what discipline you're in. I think smaller companies are figuring out that fractional is a viable alternative, also because of the mess that the job market is in right now. Trying to find good people, where you can bring in a fractional, somebody who's got a proven process. You don't have to pay them a ton of benefits. You get that expertise at you might say, more of a bargain rate than if you had to hire somebody full time.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, Dave and Tom, you were just talking about something forever. Dave, let's say, Dave, you kind of come from the marketing lens. Tom, you come from the sales lens, and the knock on all of that, at least with large organizations, is those two entities have always hated each other. Sales doesn't talk to marketing, and marketing doesn't talk to sales. And for those of you watching, and Tom, I think you just illustrated something. Now more than ever, those two entities have to come together, and they can. For some reason, structurally, for decades, it was just, I never really got it. I never really understand why sales and marketing fought. And I thought the only thing I can relate it down to, it came down to ego. They just didn't want to give any ground. And now it's sort of, it's a different world, right? Tom, you just said it. And Dave, you said it too. It's like, well, you have to help each other. You're not going to fight anymore. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with leadership. I mean, I always looked at sales and marketing as, two sides of the same coin. One is the pull strategy and the other is the push strategy, but they have to be aligned and they have to work in concert with each other.
Yeah, you sure do.
And for me, I think the difference in where we've been to where we're going as far as sales and marketing alignment is technology kind of worked against sales and marketing teams, where you had your lists of leads and marketing was just responsible for trying to hopefully throw leads into the bucket. But now there's accountability on both sides. Like the tool that I love to use is HubSpot, and there's a marketing tool, there's a sales tool. It all pours into the same thing, and you can manage and track and have conversations. John, you and I were on stage together at Digital Summit Minneapolis this year, and my topic was getting sales and marketing to work together.
Yeah.
So it's important and it's getting easier. You just need to look for a tool that helps facilitate that instead of exacerbates the problem.
Yeah. So here we are at the, is it the bottom of the hour or the top of the hour?
I don't know. It's the end of the hour.
It's one of the end of the hour. So out of responsibility to our Zoomers here is let's kind of take one takeaway that either if you're a small business or a fractional professional looking to either grow or build or sustain your business, what are snack size things that you can take away with you? I'll start with one, and that is cadence. Pick a simple thing and do it on a cadence. You'll get better over time, but pick one thing, do it well on a cadence, not a hurried cadence. For example, if that's email, once a month is plenty, but get on a cadence and stick with it. Dave, Tom, do you have a little snippet for our folks?
Tom, shoot.
Okay. I would say networking. Networking is more important than ever. Just like you touched on, John, before, whether you're on the receiving end of that or on the asking side of that, knowing people that have other skill sets besides your own makes you more of a value to prospective clients. And I just think that, with Zoom and stuff like that, networking now in some areas is easier than ever.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, some of the other tools, but networking is key.
Networking and cadence. Dave, close us out, buddy.
Yeah, my last thing that I want to say is, don't focus on sell. Focus on help. If you can answer your prospects' questions and figure out what they really need, and then figure out a way to deliver it to them, the rest takes care of itself.
Network, help, and do it on a cadence. Now that is a new marketing and sales book, isn't it? It doesn't sound, when you say that, it doesn't sound like anything people resist. So Dave, close us out.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to all of us that dialed in and asked questions.
Thank you,
This
Tom.
is going to be available in a video format. John's going to load it up to the YouTube channel. So be sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at Voyager University. And thank you all very much. You're not going to see us the rest of the year. Happy holidays, everyone. We will see you next on, I believe it's January 7th. So thanks, and get ready to rock into 2022. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.